An emergency movement behind the scenes of the Commanders has just been confirmed to contain a critical failure that jeopardizes our team's stability. The management had to act drastically in the market after a recent test against a high-level opponent exposed serious and urgent problems in the protection of our starting quarterback. During this decisive activity, our offensive line faced extreme difficulties and triggered the maximum alert signal in the coaching staff. However, while apprehension took hold of our protection, a young receiver surprised everyone by taking responsibility and maintaining our offense's production with incredible plays at the most tense moment of the day. I will reveal to you shortly who the first-round reinforcement is that has come to rescue the franchise, the details of this decisive training, and the identity of the young promise who is winning over the coaching staff. Leave your like on the video, it's just one click, and it helps me a lot. The signing of DJ Humphries shows that Washington recognized the severity of Laremy Tunsil's injury. The left tackle suffered a torn triceps during a practice on August 8th and underwent surgery. The forecast is for absence for a large part, or even all, of the 2026 season. Initially, Dan Quinn indicated that the team would not look for external reinforcements, but reality changed quickly. Brandon Coleman had been moved from left guard to left tackle, taking on a huge responsibility for a player in his third year. Coleman has talent and athletic ability, but Tunsil's departure left the line without its main reference. After releasing Foster Sarell, the Commanders decided to bring in Humphries to provide experience and a safer alternative. Humphries is 32 years old, measures 1.95 meters, and weighs 137 kilo. The Arizona Cardinals selected the player with the 24th overall pick of the 2015 draft. After his time at the University of Florida, during 8 seasons in Arizona, he started in 98 of the 101 games played and received a Pro Bowl nomination after the 2021 season. These numbers show why the signing makes sense. Washington didn't necessarily need to find another player at Tunsil's level. They needed someone who knew the position, understood the pressure of protecting the quarterback's blind side, and could take on the role if Coleman struggled. Humphries offers exactly that kind of immediate security. But there's also a concerning side. The last few years have been inconsistent, and a torn anterior cruciate ligament ended his 2023 season. In 2024, he participated in only 2 games for the Kansas City Chiefs, starting in 2. Afterwards, he played in 8 games for the Los Angeles Rams with only 1 start. The recent availability does not match the previous history. Still, Humphries was a starter in 101 of the 108 games of his career, almost always as a left tackle. The veteran also knows Cliff Kingsbury, who previously led the Cardinals' offense and worked with Washington. This familiarity could facilitate adaptation, although the current scheme of David Blau has its own demands and needs to be learned quickly. The signing is low risk because the contract is only for 1 year. If Humphries recovers part of the level shown during his best phase, Washington gains a useful solution. If he acts as a backup, he could still guide Coleman and help the line during the season. For an offense led by Daniels, even moderate improvement in stability can make a huge difference. The need became evident in the joint practice with Baltimore. Washington traveled to face a defense much stronger than the one encountered during the session with Miami. The Ravens' defensive line constantly pressured, forcing the offense to abandon several plays before the roots developed. In an official game, many of these situations would likely end in sacks. Nick Allegretti did not participate in the practice, and Sam Cosmi also sat out due to illness. The coaching staff had to alter combinations, while Coleman and Chris Paul had positive moments in individual drills. Coleman was able to steer a defender out of the pocket, and Paul also won a few reps. However, the individual performance was not enough to mask the collective issues. When the 11 players were on the field, Daniels started to receive pressure too early. The quarterback had to resort to short passes because the receivers did not have time to complete longer routes. This is a real concern. The offense may have good ideas, good players, and a talented quarterback, but nothing works when the protection crumbles before the play develops. This is precisely why Humphries arrived at an important moment. The presence of the veteran does not solve all the problems, but it offers an alternative on the edge. Coleman can continue to evolve without bearing the full responsibility of replacing Tunsil. Andrew Wiley also gains an experienced companion beside him. Now, the coaching staff needs to decide on the best combination to protect Daniels. Despite the difficulties, Washington ended the practice with important answers. In the final 2 minutes, Mike Sanristil intercepted Lamar Jackson near the red zone and ended a drive that seemed destined to result in points. The play showed awareness, discipline, and the ability to react under pressure. The defense did not dominate the entire practice, but did not allow Baltimore to control the finish. Later, Daniels received an opportunity against an aggressive blitz on 4th down. The quarterback stood firm, waited for the right moment, and found Antonio Williams wide open downfield for a touchdown. It was a clear response. Even with unstable protection, Daniels managed to stay calm and deliver an accurate pass. Williams, once again, was in the right place. The rookie had already impressed against Detroit, and his performance against Baltimore reinforced the trend. During individual drills, Williams beat Kyle Hamilton, the all-pro chosen safety, creating separation with a precise route. Winning against Hamilton is no easy task. Doing that, and then finishing the practice with a touchdown, significantly increases the weight of the performance. Antonio Williams was selected with the 71st overall pick in the 2026 draft, but many evaluators believed he could go in the first round. Injuries and a drop in production from Clemson decreased his value, but also provided the player with extra motivation. Washington saw an opportunity and is now starting to receive just the return expected. The receiver went through an adjustment phase at the beginning of summer. That was normal for a rookie, especially in a new offense. But the evolution has been clear. Williams is running routes with more precision, better controlling his body, and using his agility to create space. With each practice, his participation seems more important. The most impressive thing is that the player continues to produce even when the entire offense is facing difficulties. Against Baltimore, the offensive line could not sustain long plays, and Daniels was under constant pressure. Still, Williams found a way to stand out. This ability to show up in complicated situations is an important sign for the regular season. Everything indicates that Antonio Williams is solidified as the WR3, behind Terry McLaurin and Stefon Diggs. The arrival of Diggs, a four-time Pro Bowler, could reduce the rookie's opportunities. However, Williams' performance shows that there is room for all three. McLaurin can command from the outside, Diggs can draw attention on varied routes, and the young player can attack areas that the defense leaves open. The committee doesn't need to make him the main player immediately. Having experienced veterans around will allow Williams to grow without carrying all the pressure. Even so, opportunities will arise. If the receiver continues to win individual matchups, controlling difficult passes and creating separation, Daniels will have another reliable option for important moments. Williams' performance also helps to compensate for what the line couldn't accomplish. This doesn't mean that the protection can remain unstable. On the contrary, the touchdown showed what the offense could produce with enough time. Daniels identified the pressure, stayed in the play, and delivered the ball deep down the field. The problem is that this opportunity didn't appear frequently. Baltimore also exposed another defensive issue. The pressure on Lamar Jackson was less than observed against Miami. Odafe Oweh and K'Lavon Chaisson remain unavailable, and their absence reduced Washington's ability to pressure the quarterback. Jackson is one of the hardest players to pressure in the NFL, but the defense needed to find ways to limit his time in the pocket. The reserves were more successful when Tyler Huntley entered. This is positive for depth, but it also serves as a warning. Durante Jones needs the top pass rushers available to execute the full plan. Against mobile quarterbacks, inside pressure and containment on the outside need to work together. If one part fails, Jackson finds space to escape. The defensive line's interior, on the other hand, had strong moments. Charles Omenihu and Javon Kinlaw managed to contain Derrick Henry on some plays and gave time for the linebackers to organize. With Newton out and the edge rushers limited, this performance is important. The group needs to show that it can win matchups even without all the expected pieces. Sonny Styles also continued his development. The linebacker followed a tight end during individual drills and intercepted the pass. The play confirmed the speed and agility that made Washington excited about the young player. Styles can move like few players at the position, but he still needs to convert those flashes into consistency within the scheme. In the end, the joint practice wasn't perfect, and Daniels acknowledged that. The quarterback said it wasn't the best possible day, but the session fulfilled exactly Quinn's goal. Baltimore showed the problems Washington needs to correct, especially on the offensive line. At the same time, Williams, Sainristil, Omenihu, Kinlaw, and Styles offered positive signs. Humphrey's arrival now takes on even more importance. The veteran doesn't need to be a star, as he was in the past. He needs to be reliable, healthy, and capable of reducing pressure on Coleman. If he fulfills that role, he will have helped a lot. The franchise cannot start 2026 with Daniels' protection relying on a single internal solution. For the fan, the practice brought a difficult-to-ignore combination. The defense needs to find more pressure, the offensive line needs to protect better, and the signing of Humphreys needs to work quickly. But the offense also revealed a piece that can alter plans. Antonio Williams is beating high-level defenders and making the most of every opportunity received. The next evaluation against Baltimore may still change some decisions, but the trend is already clear. Humphreys offers depth, Williams seems ready for an important role, and Daniels showed poise even under pressure. If the veteran can stabilize the edge and the rookie continues creating separation, Washington will be in a position to turn a difficult day into real growth. Antonio Williams already deserves to be treated as the franchise's third receiver, or could his rise lead him to compete for even greater space alongside McLaurin and Diggs?